walks of life, and that's the whole idea, the concept behind Motivational Mondays here inside the TNT Morning Show. And our very first guest for Motivational Mondays is none other than the CEO of TTT Limited, Mr. David Roberts.
Good morning, Richard Trumpet. Good morning, Tim. Good morning, Dylan. And thank you very much for having me as the first guest on Motivational Mondays.
Oh, boss man, wait. No, the thing about it is that being the CEO of TTT Limited, a lot of people would have known you before from either from being a songman, either from being a broadcaster, right? A lot of people, some may not know that you are from Maloney. Mm-hmm. Now, the area of Maloney would have always been one of those areas with a stigma behind it, with a particular label, right? And tell us, first of all, for those who would have known you as a songman and as a broadcaster, it would have been like all of a sudden he's a CEO kind of way. Tell us about the all of a sudden part that many people may not know about.
Right, so David Roberts is, still on a journey to success, so I wouldn't say an overnight success. But as we were saying before we came on here, a lot of people just see the highlight reel. Mm-hmm. So over time, I am not generally someone who shares a lot of my personal life or my personal experiences. So people would not have been aware of the amount of work that I was doing in the public service, like over 14 years experience in the public service while being a DJ and a broadcaster.
Right.
And of course at 8 years at another place in media. So becoming CEO of TTT Limited was really the culmination or coming together of those experiences and really now an opportunity to provide this public service, because I really do see it as public service. And in getting here, the road wasn't straight. Like, I'll be honest, in 2015 I applied for the position of CEO and wasn't even shortlisted at that time.
Serious?
And applied again in 2020. So for those of you out there who don't get through on the first try, I think I'm living proof that once you remain consistent, and I think by far I was more prepared in 2020 than I was in 2015.
Right.
But in 2015 I really thought that I was ready at that point to make a contribution to this company. So don't give up, for starters.
Right.
Remain persistent and don't give up on your goals. In terms of coming from Maloney, of course there is that stigma attached to the community, but there are a lot of greats that come out of Maloney. I mean, from footballers to doctors to lawyers.
But why isn't the emphasis on these stories that come out of communities like Maloney?
Because it's a lot easier to run with the negative. It's the same way as we were talking before, the significance of you all coming up with this initiative, because it's easy for us to look at young people involved in negative activities. It's easy for us to share those videos and laugh and kaka. When amongst our peers, there are people who are always doing well, people who are excelling, people who are going above and beyond, and it's just easier. And as a society, unfortunately, we gravitate to what is easy. But I know of countless success stories coming out of the community, and a lot of people who stay there and who return to give back and ensure that we have a positive impact on the generation that is coming up.
Reading a particular profile, it labeled you as a rose growing out of the concrete, right? Now, how does one go down the road that you would have went down, being in a community where a lot of times, in that very same profile, it mentioned that a lot of childhood friends would have been in jail or dead now.
Yep.
How does one stay on the straight and narrow when the environment, if you absorb a lot of what is going on in the environment, you may have easily went down the same road of others? How did that? Or how was that different for you?
So in my personal experience, my parents and my household had a real significant part to play in that, and my early exposure to church and that kind of thing at the Church of the Nazarene. But I mean, people would laugh at me growing up because from the time it get dark, they know I had to go upstairs, and we started off in a building, we started off in building 8, and then we moved to a house. while
The
I was in Form One.
different buildings have different energies too, because I realize, like, based on the number, building this one in Maloney is
One of them doing gardening now, actually. One of them have gardeners.
Boy, building 9, you see, building 9,
Plants,
that kind of way.
So you still get people who try to push that narrative. I mean, there's a saying that Maloney is we, you know, and we try to push back on those narratives and that stigma. But there has been over the years tension between different buildings. But for somebody like me who was involved in music and known, you know, any part of Maloney that I go, I'm saying, nah, you know, that is Zygon, you know, any other. So I never felt any type of way. But you do hear it when you interact with people from outside of the community, and the same thing that you're saying, that, you know, coming from Maloney, a lot of people say, hey, but yeah, I didn't know you're from Maloney, and I kind of put people on point to say, well, you know, what somebody from Maloney is supposed to look like, or what they're supposed to talk like, you know, what they're supposed to dress like. So coming back to the question, for me, I think the stability in the home and that protection that my parents gave me, you know, because you come upstairs when it's dark, you know, they want to know who my friends are.
So as soon as you speak, like, come on, you ought to be upstairs.
Upstairs. But I will play it off. So I will play it off and I say, I born the boy, fellas, boy. You know? And I feel like good the boy. Don't pick me again, you know?
Or about by no reach this wet by.
Yeah, you know? So, but it's really because I had to go upstairs, you know, and then I would go up in the gallery and look over. But my parents were very strict, you know, like if they're not at home, I had to be inside, and I could lie by the window, but I couldn't come outside. So my parents also shielded me in a particular way from kind of total exposure and from going down.
Were you upset at the
particular
time?
roads? Definitely, because I wasn't cool. You know, and I went to church like Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Wednesday night for Bible study. If it's a crusade, this whole week, you know, that's how I grew up. You know.
Dan, you really wanted to be a pastor?
Yes.
You think? Oh,
yes.
Yeah, that finished.
But you used to be on stage burning down. Burning down sound.
You exercise in the lungs.
Because of that heavy church influence in the 80s, I wanted to be a pastor and I would play pastor. Right? When cousins come over, and I would always be the pastor, so we play in church. Yeah, we play in church and I would always be the pastor. Right. And somewhere my mom has some of those recordings, like recorded sermons, you know. Somewhere on cassette. You know, but that is very important. And wider than my personal experience, a lot of times people talk about the structure of homes in terms of single parent homes and using that as an excuse. But research has found that it's not really the structure of the home, but the stability of the home.
Right.
So it can be a single parent home, but the stability is what is important in nurturing the children. So that was big. I think something else that was instrumental for me, not because Karen was bringing it up earlier on, but was my dad choosing QRC, you know, to send me to QRC, well, to list QRC as the option.
You were, from your primary school, you went primary school in Maloney?
Yes, I went to Maloney Government Primary School.
And you were the first person from Maloney Government Primary to actually pass for QRC?
Yes,
boy.
All right.
Right?
I was
But not the last.
All right. Right.
So at that time, the schools that I wanted to go to would have been like Holy Cross, Hillview, Tunapuna Government. Again, it would have been based on exposure.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't know QRC beyond the fact that Dr. Eric Williams went there.
Right.
Like I really didn't know QRC. I mean, you're going to school in Maloney. All your friends are from Maloney.
Maloney,
Your circle is Maloney.
In the East Life. Right.
And that exposure over that period for secondary school really was, I think, transformative in terms of meeting different people from different walks of life and this wider thing, because we have people from Grandy, people from Sando, people from the West, and you're getting now this broader understanding of Trinidad and Tobago and this bigger understanding of life. And I think that was one of the things, you know, some years ago I really thanked him for that.
Right.
Because without his, and I don't think he spoke to me about that. I think he just put it, you know, I told him where I wanted to go.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, David, whatever.
And
you're going QRC.
You know, that was really, I think, also very instrumental. You know, so
QRC is where you got introduced to the songman thing?
I wouldn't say introduced. If I go back, I'm a musician, so I would play. I came up in panpipers and things in St. Augustine, so I'm a musician. Yes, so I always like music. Right, mommy has the story of me beating some tin pan when I was small, a crick span or something like that. And coming out of that, I would have. So where Building 8 is Building 8 is very close to Rhythm Nation in Maloney, right? So Building 8 is like one street away from Rhythm Nation. So I would always kind of go by Rhythm Nation and be around the music. You know, always like music. and I would have been exposed to, before Junior Mafia, Thunder songs, right? It would have be Derek and NKG. So, I was around music. And then Christopher Clark is who introduced me to Zygon. And I mean, the rest is history. I remember going to Sinclair one day and they're screaming on the mic by Eve, and the next thing I know, I'm a vampire.
Big up Eve.
Yeah, people can't talk to me. I got Right? And, that again presented a lot of opportunities for travel, opportunities for networking. Of course, you're in entertainment, so people treat you differently when you're in entertainment. Everybody's your friend, you can get through with things. So it really created a nice opportunity for me, and then it also changed the dynamic a bit with me and my parents, because now I was making my own money. Right. So I still wasn't my old man, I started off kind of running away to go and do gigs, and saying I go in camp and all kind of things.
But your parents wasn't cool with the DJ?
Not at first.
They weren't cool at first.
Not at first. But I would say they've always been supportive. But of course, because of my mom's, my both parents are religious, but my mom more than my dad, definitely wasn't in support of her son playing music and that kind of thing. So for years, I would get permission to go to parties, and whatever time I reach home, I have to go to church this Sunday.
If you're coming 5:30,
I had to go to church.
That was the balancer, the equalizer.
All right. Okay.
I have to go to church. If I sleep and she pinching me
There you go.
to wake up, pay attention, there's the word.
Now, there's something that I find quite interesting. Now, in the profile that I read, it spoke about education being such an integral part and an important ingredient in your success, right? Now, you're now talking about the love for music and the DJing and the songman thing. How does one find that time management to go from secondary school studies to tertiary studies to from degree to masters and all of that, and now pursuing doctorate? How you find that time management to make that whole thing work?
The reality of it, Trumpet Boy, is just never losing sight of what is important. So even though I was doing music, I would always tell myself, this is not it, right? And I had in my mind at that time examples of people who I didn't want to be like, people who I saw kind of remain in entertainment or kind of plateau in entertainment. And I always wanted more for myself, always wanted more. I think that's what the quest is now. Always more. And I am always big on having options.
Right.
And I think options come from being prepared, from being prepared to take advantage of opportunities. So in as much as I would do the music, I always saw it as a means to an end, if that makes sense.
Right.
So you like it, you love it, but you want to do it because you want to do it. You don't want to do it because you have to do it.
Right.
You kind of always want to be able to do what you want to do.
Right.
Which was a big motivation behind pursuing the doctorate, because I was lecturing and I said, at the point where I started to have a family and all of that, I probably want to be lecturing full time so that I could have control of my day and have one class per day and then just have things, papers to mark. So
on the beach.
On the beach, and now with COVID-19 and all that has been put in place, it's just so many options have now opened up for remote work, and now it's easier to do international teaching because everything is now online. Right. So that was really the motivation behind that. And also being a consultant and being young, people looking at you and saying, but what you could tell me? So I said,
exactly.
Cool. Let's validate that by saying, okay, the David Roberts DBA. So
right.
the elephant from the room, right? Because a lot of the things that you're recommending, people are accepting, they are agreeing, but who's this youth man? Who's this youth man telling me this, and where is this person drawing this experience from? So that was the motivation there, but it's just really thinking about what is important. So even though you may have one interest, just kind of always think about what's important, how do I line this up with something else,
right?
Right. And I think COVID-19 show a lot of people that, right,
the importance of it.
We are even doing pies,
right. You have to diversify, right?
Space doing carpentry,
right?
It's really now you have to think about which people have been saying for years, that multiple streams of income.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So if you have one job, you can have one.
You just that brother in that corner there. That he just preach that.
That's important.
Yeah, that how important.
You see, I didn't call him because it too many things to list.
Right.
Right.
Who's Island?
Voice
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Socrates,
Right.
But
It's that important. Now, what advice? Because a lot of our listeners would be from areas similar, Maloney, Picton, Laventille, Diego Martin, you name it, right? And just looking at your profile and hearing your story and your journey, what advice would you give to that person sitting in that community right now, feeling like, I'm in this environment and this seems to be it for me? Like what advice could you give them?
Real simple, boy. Gandhi. Be the change you want to see. Very, very simple. Be the change you want to see. Don't be limited by what people say your community is. So every community has good. Every community has good. And I think a lot of times these stereotypes on communities are from persons external to the community.
Right.
Because when people talk about how bad Maloney is, in inverted commas,
Them not from Maloney.
I like bad way, so yes, there are issues as with anywhere else, and we do pay attention in terms of how issues in Maloney, how those issues are reported compared to somewhere else.
Right.
And you see sometimes something happen in South, and they say the person was from Maloney. When they check it, the person left Maloney when they were 5 years old.
Yep.
Right? So there's always this connection.
To the same to Laventille.
To try to say, well, because he came from here, this is what happened. And then you see in other communities in the West, for example, you're not seeing pictures of people, or they're saying it under investigation.
Right.
Or you're not seeing names. But if it's a particular community, you're seeing mock shots next day.
Everything. Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
So be the change, be the change. Just continue to work in the community, and for those who are successful and move out, return.
How important is giving back?
Very important. Very, very important. Because what you're trying to do is create opportunities that you have found to be important that you see lacking. Right? So if you know education is important, if you know, and education here could be learning a trade, is not just academic, then provide those opportunities, and for me, over the years, myself and others have really come through with opportunities. So we'd have come into the community with Nedco while I was there to have businesses funded, and this is so encouraging to see those businesses up and running, and then start to employ people, right? Through the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, making sure that those things are there. And as I said, it's not just me. There have been attorneys who pass through the community who would come back and do a legal clinic.
Right.
There will be initiatives around doctors and dental care. The things that we know to be important, and simple as that. All they go in dentist and thing now, but a lot of people don't go to the dentist. Right. Dentist and they'll call you up tongue.
Right.
But I could call names.
But that is now, that's part of health. But according to where you are, it's not part of your health regime. Right. And I remember going to the dentist. It was at Mount Hope. It was in the public system. Right. But I would go to the dentist over time. You remember they put that purple thing and you had to take forever. Then you realize you're really not brushing your teeth properly every day, because you're really not brushing as long as when you go to the clinic. So it's those simple things from health come right up. It's just really opportunities. Health opportunities, employment opportunities. Sometimes there's a conversation, because the passing joke when I was growing up, every time somebody talked to me, I studying, and they say, I want to be the Prime Minister. And I was like, nah. And it is not that I wasn't aspiring, but it was that in their mind, only the Prime Minister needed to study this much.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I mean, still say that, so if men think way up to that, I think the school boy thinks, it's like, but you always go to school, am I?
Yeah. I'm glad that you bring up that. Because, when you have a certain look, and you have the smarts to back it up, right? People tend to bracket you, and they tend to say, okay, cool, you're an intellectual, you have to stay in a classroom, you have to stay on a blackboard, you cannot pick up a mic and entertain me, right? And I found that you
real far from your name.
I find that you navigated those waters well and you broke those borders down now. What were some of the things that you used to have to convince yourself to get away from the boxes that people would have liked to put you into?
Forget about our box, boy. I'd forget about people and just be me. Because, so part of me likes to read books. And part of me like Clash, part of me like Clash too. So, and it's the same me.
Yeah.
But, so it's just not being limited by whatever view people try to put on me. And you're right. For me, though, I remember returning from war in the East in Germany and driving into work. I was at the Ministry of Sport at the time, and my security officer at the facility was facility manager saying, "Hey, Mr. Roberts, I'll let you on real bad, boy." And I now trying to think back, like,
what did I say?
What was I saying? Because to this person, I am Mr. Roberts,
Yeah.
and then I dare being myself, telling people,
You say you're not a bad man.
right? And it was a point of reflection for me, and I was like, okay, David. And I think that's the point when I first told the team, I really not doing that clash again.
Yeah.
I started to feel that type of way now, being in management.
Right.
And I remember that meeting, like, I'm management now, and based on where I see myself going, I think I need to pull away from not music, but from this clash thing, because the clash have a certain energy
Stigma to it,
and and a vibe. But I never let people restrict me, and even in clashes, man, who say thing you nerd either because they know or because I have the glasses.
Right.
But we bust them up same way, So the joke's on them.
You never in a board meeting and somebody in the meeting doing a presentation and say, we hope that the manager does not tell us to suck our...
Strangely enough, the experience from Soundclash in particular, I think prepared me a lot for corporate life.
Serious?
Because you had to think on your feet.
Right.
You had to think on your feet. And I mean, even if you're having a whole staff meeting, somebody says something, how do you not
you
jump
have
back?
a counteraction.
Yeah.
But how do you respond? And that's why clash is. A clash is really cause and effect. And then in a clash, you really need to remember. Because you have to remember what trumpets, you have to remember
what play before to
and all of that.
So there are a lot of
your
skills
brain has
I
to be
think
pumping.
that you get along the way in Soundclash that I
Right.
think serve you well in the corporate world.
Now, before we wrap up, we heard about the journey, right? Anytime somebody hear the letters CEO, they automatically think, "Way, got it made. Everything is
Everything
cool. Honey, milk, everything is
Cook
everything."
and curry.
Before we wrap up, tell us, how does a CEO, what time a CEO day starts and ends?
Yeah. How was your day, sir?
The day doesn't start and the day doesn't end. It's one continuous
Day.
Yeah.
One long day.
It's I mean, this morning I got up at 3. Usually I get up between 3 and 4. You start to deal with some emails. You try to get to the office early. I mean, you come down the road under some morning meds.
Yeah.
Right? And you know that I message you
Right,
a number of mornings.
People he just beat us to work, eh?
And you spend a lot of the day really meeting with people.
Okay.
Right? You spend a lot of the day meeting with people, really, internal and external stakeholders. But you also have preparation for the board. You also have your chairman who could link in. You also have a minister who could be following up on something. Lots of meetings.
So your day starts at 3 and ending when?
Nah, that going straight down. Probably the earliest 8.
8 p.m.?
Yeah, 8 p.m. I've had occasions where work through the night. But the nights are very good for me in that it's uninterrupted, so you get to look at emails, read emails properly, read documents that come before you, because there's so many distractions during the day.
No, not to cut you, but you must have one hell of a support structure. Because, and I bring this up because, and not that we bashing or we thinking anything, we just highlighting that a lot of women out there, they would tell themselves, or a lot of mothers would grow up their daughters and say, when you see that man on the radio talking, that CEO, that is the kind of man I want you to get. You understand? But then, when the daughter have to live with the man who has to wake up at 3, and then basically dedicates a portion of his life, a major portion of his life to his career, a lot of women can't deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, so your support structure has to be something that is tried and true.
Yes, thanks for that, Karen. I do have an amazing wife who is very understanding and very supportive. But there's something that someone said to me that I think has been the most instructive thing that anyone has said to me since I've sat in the chair. And he said to me that my wife is not married to a CEO. So my wife is married to a husband. And I thanked that person just last week for sharing that gem with me, because it is something that I kind of always keep in the back of my mind now, you know. And when she linked me to go south, you know, just to go south for the company, and I want to rest, and I go south with her, you know, for no reason, and I think she's listening, and you know, there's no reason I should.
No reason. We just going.
But she wants a husband. She wants somebody to go south with her,
Right? Yeah,
just for the company.
Yeah.
You know, I want to rest, but just for the company, and it's really a balancing act, Karen, because one of the things as a lecturer, like when I get classes on a Father's Day or Mother's Day, I don't ever go all day. I go maximum half day, because I say never forget why you're doing what you're doing. So you're coming here to seek this degree to hopefully improve the standard of living for your family, but don't do that at the detriment of
Your
spending
family.
Mother's Day here all day.
Right.
You know, don't do it at that. So you kind of always have to remember, yes, I'm doing this for my family, but my family may just want my time.
Right.
And you try to find that balance in that, you know. And ever so often, I mean, she'll keep me in check, you know, where I've fallen off balance, she'll keep me in check, you know, and she does that. But that's an important point, you know, and just be open and frank with the communication, so that you kind of understand what are the things that are required, you know. And we did have a conversation in me picking up the role that, you know, this is what I expect is going to be, you know, and I mean, it's been a lot more than I anticipated. But then we come back to the table and we think, you know, and we carve out whatever time. I have a friend who carve out a time on Sunday for his family, you know, and we know that he's not available at that time. We know that.
Everybody respect that and move forward.
That's his time, you know. So you just had to kind of figure out on your team what will work, whether it is access or whether it's a specific time or whether it's a specific day, or, you know, whether the weekend sacred. You know, yesterday I was just away from the work phone. You know, because even that, the next thing is now with technology, you can be home and you're not home enough.
True.
And at your home, but
You're
you're
home,
not available to your family. Because you're on email, you know, you're on your phone.
You're plugged in.
Because our businesses are 24 hours and we have 4 brands, at any given time I can be busy. So you really now have to try to ensure that you cover that time.
I know I said one last thing before we wrap up, but the next last one. Elon always says your vibe attracts your tribe. Right? Now, you agree with the statement, and how did your vibe attract the support structure that you have? Right? I mean, part of your support structure would be given, like your parents and family and so on, but friends are who you choose. Right? How did your vibe attract your tribe?
Trumpet, you ever watch Pocahontas?
No.
The father had said, "My daughter speaks with wisdom far beyond her years." That's Elon. It's significant that you make that point, because what you find as well as you go through, at least my experience as I go through this journey called life, is that sometimes those friends change.
Right.
Friends change, or that support network changes as you move. And a lot of people have it down as, you know, rich and switch.
Right.
But it's really not that. It is very difficult. So the way I put it is that I only speak Spanish to Spanish speakers. So if somebody could only speak English, I speak English to them.
Right.
Because I have frustrated myself over the years trying to speak Spanish to people who only understand English. So you try to explain to them the value of doing particular things, and, you know, a man just really can't connect with what you're saying.
Right.
So from the time I realize you're an English speaker, I keep the conversation.
English. Right.
I keep it there.
Right.
Because it becomes very, very frustrating, because it becomes, why are you doing that, and are you trying to do the most, and you feel you're better than people. Like, it's not that. It is that I've been exposed and I want to expose you.
Right.
But some people aren't at the
Some people don't want to be exposed.
yeah, they're happy where they are.
All
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
you say it.
What
Yeah.
is- what?
Chop it.
Oh, yeah, some people just they
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
wanna be
yeah.
exposed.
Chop it.
Right? But you really try along the way to bring your tribe with you as much as possible, friends, family, sometimes foes, but that changes, boy. My experience is that changes, and then you kind of want to talk to people who have been where you are trying to go.
Right.
You know, I saw somebody
Right.
saying that, don't take directions from people who never went south,
Right.
in order to get to south.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Sense,
So it's
sense.
not that I don't have the ability to find a new way to get to south. You're kind of trying to figure out from Elon, but how you do the south thing?
Right.
What's the
Okay,
best
so
way?
that's the way for you. I might go via water taxi.
Right.
But I do have now the experience of, hey, Elon went this way. And in making that point, it's very important to me to talk to people to not make the same mistakes. So even in stepping into this role, like I talk to real people in media, big man thing, Signal is one of the first men I talk to, and I talk to Signal on the way, boom. I talk to, somebody else, I could call Signal name, could come from there. We call other names, but, but you talk to people,
Right,
yes,
right.
I was a man a thing, and I was a boy thing. I'll teach you about this thing, boy thing. Right?
Yeah,
So
right.
you kind of now want to learn from them. Yes, the market has changed.
Right.
Yes, the thing is changing, but you kind of want to understand now. I have something else I say. You kind of plenty of people know the what, but they don't know why.
Yeah.
So they know what to do, but they don't know why we do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to understand the why now to see whether or not the why relevant and see where the market going. But a lot of people, once they get through, they kind of feel is, well, I get through. I get through and it's on me.
So I got the
I get through and it's on me, you removing God from the equation, removing support from the equation, removing luck from the equation, and feel, well, it's all me. I don't share that view, boy. I don't share that view. I think it's important to have conversations and really get an understanding and be open. All manner of people talk to me about all different type of things, to do with the radio stations and to do with television. I'm open.
Right.
I am open, people
Because you never know where you could get a bit of wisdom from.
Sometimes you get a gem, and sometimes it's just a seed. Sometimes you
Yeah.
water it and you turn it into something else, but you got this gem from somewhere. And I mean,
sometimes you
you're
get it
not
from
wrong.
people who don't really have your best interest at heart. Sometimes you get it from those that are trying to shut you down.
Yes, sometimes
It's
it
just
come
how you
from-
look at it.
Yeah, sometimes it come from a dark place where a man saying, and you say, Cause I tell the team that all the time, the management team, so in getting the feedback, even if the feedback is negative, let us test and see if it's valid.
Right.
Because sometimes I might think and they say, boy, you go with them fellas and them boy. Fellas and them wash up boy.
They ain't saying nothing.
Yeah, boy. You understand? I said, nah, man, them fellas and them same thing, man. Same thing to me. So they might be saying thing to you. And I want
test it?
link with you about something that we did. And I want to say, boy, I would not do that. I say, you could afford not to do that. But don't try to prescribe for me when I understand my business what might work for your business.
Yeah.
Right.
But I say for me, I said that's a vibe for me.
It's a good thing for me, yes.
That's a vibe for me, So it's also not getting caught up in people, people lead you astray, but
And being confident in your own
We wanna thank you so much
sure.
for being our very first guest inside Motivational Mondays. As I said, this is a very, very important segment for us, because apart from the laughs and the trending information and thing, I think it's always very important for us to try to inspire others along the right road. So thank you so much.
Sure.
And we want to wish you continued success.
thanks, man. So journey now start. Thanks a lot for having me. And as I shared with you before we opened the mic, a lot of people have reached out to be a part of it, to share their story. So I really hope that people get encouragement and really attack the day. Attack the day. It's a challenging environment with COVID-19, but it's really just an opportunity for you to look at your life, look at your business, look at your relationships in a different.
Look at yourself.
In a different way, and really see how best you could make those opportunities happen.
If you have somebody else here, that's how we right, we're going over time. So, all right, okay.
I still going upstairs and write a memo. Those guys.
Oh God.
They really know me, man.
Trumpet, right? Trumpet. Wait, did he name?
Guys, that was the interview, guys. I'm going to cut it off because now is the time where we get to speak. Yeah, because you live, I'll post it.
I'm going somewhere.